Scripted, we're here with another video, and this is obviously the review of episode 3 of Skeleton Crew, and it's been told or been said that it's all about the wokiness and all that stuff. And yes, they did this. It's just so dumb. Oh man! Again, I did a video about this last week about how 1 in 12 couples, lesbian couples, have a kid. Have at least one kid. 1 in 12, and they make up less than 1% of the population. Lesbian couples. So you're talking about less than 0.1% of children are in this scenario, and they felt the need to make the Asian girls' parents 2 moms out of a group of 4 sets of parents. So the math ain't mathin' on that. But the question becomes, like, what's the purpose? Not because I really even care that much, to be honest. It's stupid, but it's like, whatever. If it's, as some people would say, to like normalize it, well, it's not that it's not normal, it's just, it's not happening. It just doesn't exist. Even within lesbian couples, 1 in 12 want kids. So even for them, it's not something they really want. So it's like, why are you making this a thing when even they don't make it a thing? And of course, in this scene, they're kind of overreacting, and Neil's mom is just kind of calm and standing there, and Wynn's dad is just kind of calm, talking. The snarky girl, Fern's mom, is of course uptight and says that they're gonna trust that the droids are gonna find them, the security droids. And then the security droid comes in and says, well, no, they illegally, he makes the point of saying the kids illegally left the barrier on a starship. So, much to most people's suspicions, this planet is very, very, it's controlled by somebody that doesn't want anyone to know it exists. And so the kids are in trouble, right? They've done something illegal. But again, as far as the stupid 2 moms thing, it's just, I don't see the purpose. If someone can explain it to me. Somebody tweeted the other day, and it just showed up on my feed, that, oh, I'm Asian and have 2 moms. I finally get to see myself in a Star Wars show. And I'm like, is that true, though? Like, is that really a thing? So you've been watching Star Wars this whole time and just always felt like you weren't represented because they didn't have an Asian chick with 2 moms? I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. I think you were watching Star Wars because you enjoyed it, and this has nothing to do with anything. Again, to me, I'm not one of these guys who's just going to freak out over it. I just think it's stupid. It's stupid. It's not going to change what my family believes or my kids believe, and if it is going to change what your family believes or what your kids believe, maybe you need to be involved more. So they're freaking out and saying, you got to find our kids, and the droid's basically saying, well, no, we don't send signals outside the barrier, we don't send ships outside the barrier, so basically your kids are SOL. Okay, fair enough. I have a sneaking suspicion that there's going to be some form of, like, this planet's being protected by whatever, like, Empire. And I also have a sneaking suspicion that it's going to have something to do with Palpatine, because everything they do now has to be trying to explain and making Palpatine's return in The Rise of Skywalker palatable to fans. Here's a tip, Disney. It's never going to be. It's going to be viewed as utter stupidity no matter what you do. That was a really, really, really stupid move. No, even if you could explain it in a way that seems kind of palatable to people, they're still going to be like, yeah, but in the movie, you didn't give us anything. He was just there. So it ruined the movie. You see what I'm saying? Like having to suffer through endless content for hours on end to get an answer to a simple question because all you got was somehow he returned. You guys botched it. It doesn't matter what you do now. But anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the situation they're in right now, but whatever, we'll see. Oh, I also just wanted to mention too, just popped in my head too, the other thing that's really stupid about the 2 mom thing is this is an Earth thing, that it's like a social thing they're pushing here. So to have that, again, it's just so corny and lame. So anyway, the kids are, if we remember last episode, they broke out of prison. And somehow Jude Law's character was still in prison when all he had to do was just use the Force to move the key. So he used the Force to move the key, and then he got out with the kids. How long was he in there? And why would he stay in there if he can use the Force? It doesn't make any sense. And he must have been hiding the fact that he could use the Force to the other pirates, because they would have been like, no, don't leave the keys in there. He's a Jedi. So that's a big problem as well. So it's a little stupid. Okay, so he just told the kids that they asked him. That's one thing about this show that's been okay, is they do kind of answer your questions. Like when they flew away, my one big question is the stupid autopilot thing. That's a huge issue from the first episode. Like why was it set on autopilot to do what it did? That was kind of stupid. That was not really explained. But the idea of everyone not knowing where their planet was and all that stuff, that was explained. In this case, he just explains to them why he was still in the cell when he could have just released himself. And he says, well, what good would have releasing myself if I don't have a ship? He says, I waited and the Force provided. Which is, I still think it's kind of dumb. Like, dude, just get out of the cell and go do something else. Go hide somewhere else. Get some food in you, whatever. But at the same time, it does have that kind of Jedi-y feel to it. It's an okay explanation. And Fern is very suspicious of him, and says, if you're saving us because you think our planet has treasure, there isn't any. You're wrong. And that fits her personality. Why should they just trust this guy? They just met him. So again, I don't mind that. You tell me, would it be dumber if all the kids just were like totally trusting of him? I think it kind of would be. Jod Narnarwood is his name. The other thing I have to be critical of this show, along with every other Disney show, is the lighting is just absolutely awful. It's awful. I am watching this in my living room with, I don't know, it's all just natural light coming in the windows, but it's not a lot. It's a cloudy winter day. I live up north. It's not super bright at all, and I can hardly see anything. I mean, I can see it, and I get it. They want it to be like dark dungeony, but again, you gotta have a spot somewhere, or even if it's not a bright spot, but something to reflect some of the light off the edges of the characters' faces and stuff. I mean, they have a little bit of it, but it's so minimal that I don't know. And then it's just not lit properly. Like Kenobi was awful for that. There's parts of Andor that are bad for that, although other parts that are quite good for that. But they have this thing whenever it's supposed to be sort of a darker scene. Mandalorian, we see it too. They just sort of just suck everything out of it to the point where you can barely see anything. I don't understand that. The other thing that just happened was he told them to move, and then the one kid's like, oh, he got us to move because he could sense there was a pirate around the corner. So, I mean, it definitely has that like kid feel, and he's a Jedi, and Wim's, of course, excited about it. I think he's the one that said it because he's all about Jedi. This is like his dream, hanging out with this guy right now. And then again, of course, Fern is like suspicious, and Neil's just seems like he's just always got his head in the clouds. And then the Asian chick is just kind of like, dissecting it all, I guess. I don't know. Again, very simple tropes we've seen a million times. Okay. And then Fern, he walks away to go do something, right? And then Fern's like, how can we trust him? He was in jail. And the kids are like, we were too. And then Wim's like, he's a Jedi. They're the keepers of peace in the galaxy. Everybody knows that. And then they see the helmet of the pirate that had just walked by go flying across the screen, and he comes walking up like he just punched him out, right? Again, those are cute, simple things when you're writing that work. There's a small contingent of people that have been calling me a shill since this show came out because I haven't said it's terrible. I said the first 2 episodes were all right. I didn't mind them. This one so far is in the same ilk. It's all right. So this is pretty stupid. They're walking through the bar they were just in and got thrown in the barracks for being in. They're kids. One of them's a literal blue elephant on parade. There's no possible way that they wouldn't get noticed by somebody. That's dumb. That's super stupid. That they're literally walking right through the crowd of guys that literally just put them in the barracks. And they tried to play it off by having these 2 pirates fight over on the side. And now you're watching other pirates staring directly at the fight and walking around Neil and around the kids. And you're like, Dude, you're gonna notice that there's a 3-foot blue elephant in front of you. Whether there's a fight or not, these guys have seen a million fights. They see fights every 5 minutes in this bar. So that was stupid. That's dumb. Okay, this is stupid too. So the Wolfman guy that leads the pirates, he's running this entire port. Like, he's got full control of this port. He's ordering people around in the second episode. Puts the kids in the barracks. Somehow they walk right through. Nobody notices. That makes no sense. Now they get on their ship. That ship is his now. Like, even if it is they say it's junky and stuff like that. It doesn't matter. That dude commandeered your ship. It shouldn't even be in the same location. That thing should be gone somewhere. Like, he's a pirate. That's what pirates do. They don't just leave it there and then let you waltz back onto it. So unless they have some kind of explanation for that, that's a super stupid plot point. Then they convince him to go save the droid. And Fern's like, oh, you're a Jedi. You should be able to do anything. And he realizes the only way to build trust with her is to go do this. And he says to the kids to stay in the ship where it's safe. Again, the ship should have guards and should not be accessible. Like, they floated in that floaty little transport thing to get to their ship. How did nobody notice? It doesn't make any sense. When they used it last time, remember they had to pay the little guy, he's like the little guy from the Ewok movie? They had to pay him. Where was he? How were they able to just use it? Like, that was stupid. Okay, so they're freaking out because the captain escaped from the brig. And like I said, the kids were put in the same cell. The pirates would know that. And the kids were walking through this area 5 minutes ago. And somehow nobody noticed. Oh, that's really dumb. That's super stupid. Okay, so then this other pirate who was part of his crew sees him, recognizes him. So what was the point of the mask in the first episode if everyone's just going to recognize him anyway? I remember I thought it was really dumb too that his voice was basically the same. But then I chalked it up, okay, they kind of want us as the audience to connect the two, but why would he be wearing that in front of his own guys if they already knew he looked like this? So it doesn't make any sense. And then he's the dumb pirate. He's like, oh, why would Brutus have let you out of the brig right before your trial? Because he's dumb. and then Jude Law's character was like, I let myself out. So I don't know. We'll see here. It's probably going to be some little action sequence where he fights a bunch of them, whatever. Okay, so then it cuts back from the kids to him again, and he's been caught and yet somehow got into one of these transports again. And this is how the pirates deal with it. They stick a guy in a spacesuit on one of them? Don't they have, like, fighters or anything? Like, don't they have ships with guns? Why would you have a guy with a gun on a transport that doesn't have guns trying to chase this guy down if you just want him dead? You're trying to shoot at him anyway. Why don't you just go get your ship with big guns and just shoot him? I hate it when they make villains dumb to move the plot point, and I hate it when they make main characters stupid to move the plot point. Why do people have to be stupid and nonsensical to move the plot? And that's what this appears to be to me. So if that was the action sequence of them escaping, so far it sucked. They rammed him once. They even rammed him with the guy in the spacesuit on the little transport buggy thing. What happened to him when they rammed him? And now they're doing the same thing they did in The Last Jedi, where remember when the TIE fighter that Poe and Finn tried to escape on was tied up? They're doing it again. It's disappointing. We need new ideas here. And then they finally wake up to the fact that they're escaping. Not quick on the uptake, these pirates. They're pretty stupid. But they finally do notice. like they sent... This is what I don't understand. See, he had these guns. He sent a guy to go get him in a little transport buggy that had no weapons and a guy in a spacesuit with a blaster. When he had these guns the whole time. And then finally, when he's almost escaped, they're like, oh, he's trapped in the fuel line. And he's like, oh, get the guns. And you're like, dude, they were already there. You could have used the guns ages ago. What did you wait till now for? I don't like incompetence being the reason that the plot moves. Unless, of course, you're talking about like a comedy where there's like dumb guys and stuff. Yeah, so he hyperdrives out of there just as they're going to shoot him, of course. But what I don't like about this too is the way they're using hyperdrive now. Since the sequels, you remember the OT, right, with Han and the original Star Wars, where he's like, "Oh, it's not like crop dusting, boy. You can go through." It was such a big deal, and you had to be really careful what you were doing. And he had to have the ship literally like set perfectly. Like imagine if you think physics like angles. If you start on the wrong angle. Like if you're building a building, right, and you're over your first foot through, say, like a corridor, you're a quarter of an inch off, right? By the time you get to 200 feet down the hall, you're going to be 3 feet off. So if his ship is being moved around by this fuel line that he's stuck to, if he's even a millimeter going the wrong direction, by the time he gets halfway across the galaxy, he's like in a completely different area. And maybe has hit something, but he still hit it anyway. Hit the hyperdrive anyway while the ship is sort of moving around. I don't know. I don't like what they're doing with hyperdrives in Disney Star Wars. Obviously, the holdover mover. That's not even. But even the little things like that are not really taking it seriously. All they had to do was just have him evade earlier. Have the gun shoot at him and maybe hit him a bit or miss a bit or whatever, do some damage, but nothing too big, and then settle it and get out of there. But I don't know what the purpose of turning hyperdrive usage into like something so flimsy. I don't know. It's not what the original take on it was, and why would you change that? That's dumb. Okay, they basically just had a scene where Shmi, SM33, is like suspicious of him and wondering what he's doing, and they have their little pissing contest, and then that's it. And he walks away. It's kind of whatever. Okay, so then like nerdy chick or whatever, the Donatello trope, right? There's always one of these. Especially with her, she's like the computer chick, and she told him, "Oh, it's unlikely that you're actually a Jedi. I calculated the odds," and then he's like, "It's not all about odds," and then he apparently shuts the light off with the Force. So they're trying to get us as the audience to question whether or not this guy's legit or if he's a huckster. There was an earlier scene where Fern was like, "There's a million ways he could have moved that key," and then she listed a whole bunch of technologies that would have been able to make that happen. So it's tough to say because he didn't know these kids existed until they ended up in his jail cell. So if there was some big elaborate plan, I don't think he knew where they were from or anything. How could he? So anyway, he's probably a Jedi, but they're making you question probably what is the reality of the situation. I also want to say too, so he's coming to this moon that apparently his friend is at that's going to help them find their planet or whatever. The other thing about, I just want to bring up again, I know I'm a broken record a little bit here, but with the hyperdrive thing, how did he punch in where he's supposed to go so easily and quickly? Like, if you think about it, he's swerving around and he's trying to avoid all these guys, and then somehow he pushes like 2 buttons and he goes exactly to where he's supposed to go. Again, doesn't really fit with Star Wars, what Han was doing. Took him a while, had to figure out a bunch of stuff. There's calculations involved. They're turning using hyperdrive into this willy-nilly stupid thing, and they did it in the sequels as well. Now, they did in this show at least say it was he told her to get some sleep because they were going to arrive, the Asian chick, because they're going to arrive in 5 hours. So I will give them credit for that. But I don't give them credit for how easily he managed to get to where he's supposed to go with just pushing a couple buttons with his ship swerving all over the place. So the other thing I wonder here is, if this is his friend, why is he parked so far away? Wouldn't you just park? Wouldn't you just land right near them? Why was nobody on a comm link saying, "Hey, who are you coming down here?" like any other settlement does? That's really weird. And I also think that they're using the volume, and it doesn't look very good, in my opinion. So Fern just said, "Why are we parked so far away?" So, and this is one of the positives. Okay, I will give you guys a positive draw of this show. They're missing the mark on a bunch of stuff, for sure. But where they're landing is, even though she annoys me as a character, the characters themselves are well written so far, as far as I'm concerned. I know it's not super difficult. They're tropes that have been used tons of times, but they are well written. She's a well written character so far. She brings up good questions that I'm having as a viewer very shortly after I'm having them, and I like the classic trope characters. It's fine. It's good to have a character that's doesn't just trust everybody and is questioning things and is a little bit attitudinal. It's good to have the naive friendly kid, like Neely's chunk, I guess, basically. It's good to have the calculated person that's trying to use logic and figuring things out and is sort of scientific based, which is the Asian chick. And of course, it's really good to have Wim, or whatever, I keep forgetting his name, because he's the sort of positive, excited, very happy, he's enjoying the fact that he's going on an adventure, whereas the rest of them are kind of like, whoa, this is not good. Yeah, he's the optimistic one, right? So anyway, I'm just saying, for all the flaws, the characters so far, especially in this episode, have been well written. Obviously, some of the plot points with the pirates and them escaping and everything were ridiculous, but that part is at least decent. So he basically just says he parked there because he trusts her to a point, but not fully, and she might stab them in the back. Okay, so they're watching him on the screens, and they're saying they're going to arrest him, and that he kidnapped these kids, so she doesn't trust him. But again, I'm asking you, you watched his ship land. I guess maybe the strategy is let him land and let's see who these people are rather than, bringing them up on the comm link, I guess. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, but that was weird. Okay, and this is another trope. He says you've been cleaning up. She says, trinkets and tokens from 1,000 different systems. Remember when they're walking into Maz's castle and she's got flags from like all the different systems? So this is probably just another like wise old character. Female, right? Of course, but wise old character. You had it with Yoda. Now you got it with her. And you had it with Maz. We'll see here. I don't know. They chose an easy path with the writing here, which isn't necessarily bad, but it's not necessarily good either. But again, we'll see here. Maybe her character will be compelling in some way. We'll see. So basically, this is female Yoda. This is like another safe decision in terms of safe decision in terms of character choice to try and sort of bring in nostalgia, but also be a safe trope. Okay, so then the owl lady explains that she doesn't have a map to where it is, but she shows this scroll talking about how it was one of the planets protected by the old Republic because it had all these special things about it, and all the rest of them got destroyed except this one, and then now it's just a legend, essentially. It's in kids' stories and stuff like that. Very, very simple storyline here. So then Owl Lady starts to try and figure out what planet or where their planet is through like information from the kids, like what they do at home, what's the barrier like, blah 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 blah. And then she's like, oh, nebulous gases. She narrows it down to 10,000 planets. Then she sees the logo on the back of Fern's backpack for her like top student thing that her mom gave her, and she gets all intrigued. Again, it's kind of a cool little scene. Okay, so she had already called for his arrest, remember earlier? So he thought she would have already found the planet by now, and he's like, you're just stalling. And then it turns out it does look like she was stalling. And so now what's her motivation? Is she also interested in whatever the treasure is? And so she's going to take the kids now? And she's super into treasures and stuff, so... Okay, so whatever. She called him Jack, whatever. Jude Law's character pulls the coordinates chip or whatever out of the thing and goes running and has a fight with Owl Lady. She called X-Wings, which is interesting. They're in the middle of nowhere, but I don't know. It's interesting. Is she a New Republic ally then? Because remember in Mandalorian, they said that if you're not an ally, if you're not a New Republic planet, like you're not registered with the New Republic or you refuse to, you don't get their protection. And then they bucked that anyway, and they ended up doing it anyway. I don't remember exactly the scenario. It was like super stupid plot point. I don't know, maybe she's like a New Republic little safe hold place or something. The other thing I don't understand is the X-Wings, of course, Memberberry X-Wing, but the X-Wings are like flying around. Like, how far did they walk? How would they not have seen the ship from the air? They're pretty fast, X-Wings. Like, and they have sensors and all this stuff. So again, the way they keep escaping is not done well. It's crappy. So the kids aren't letting him on the ship, and they're getting the droid involved until he tells them who he really is, because the owl called him Crimson Jack, and he sort of admits he's not a Jedi. They're like, so are you a Jedi? And he's like, well, I never really said I was. He never, I guess, technically said the words himself. So they're making that the big mystery of the show. That's the JJ mystery box, whatever. But the fact that the X-Wing still haven't seen them is ridiculous. It makes this scene so not believable at all. Like, there's no way. There's just no way. They would have sent, or their sensors would have picked up the ship. Remember when Luke is flying over Dagobah? Luke is in space. He's not even near the surface. And he says sensors are picking up, are not picking up any tech, but a lot of life forms. Something to that effect. So as if they wouldn't pick up the fact that there's a ship there. So they're not thinking when they're writing these scenes. And the two escape scenes in this one are really pretty crappy. So, and Jude Law's character refers to them as goons, these X-Wing guys. They call him whatever Jack, whatever the heck that keep forgetting. So are they New Republic or not? No one's mentioned that. He would have been like, oh, those are New Republic ships or something. So are they stolen X-Wings? Are they going to explain that? Or was it just, oh, put some X-Wings in there? Because remember? I hope not. The very, very kid part, but I like it. He throws Wim in the gunner thing. Quick explanation, and we'll see what happens here. But he's all excited. Fair's all like mad about it, but he's excited. Okay, so in this show, they actually have to get out of the atmosphere before they can do a hyperspace jump, which is the correct lore. Something they completely screwed up in other Disney-produced Star Wars things, including the sequels. This show's a weird one because there's things like that you appreciate that they took the time to actually care about because they haven't been caring about stuff like that. And then there's the other stuff where it seems like they don't care about it, right? And again, as it relates to the hyperspace, what I went into earlier, just kind of felt very willy-nilly. And then in this part, it's like, no, actually, they actually followed proper lore. And that's why I said the first two episodes were okay. This episode's worse, I would say, than the second episode. But at least they're sort of showing they care at least. Like, I get it. When I watch something like The Acolyte or some of these other shows, I feel like these people don't even care that they're making them. They just care about themselves and making something that is for them and it's not for fans. Whereas this show, it's kind of a mixed bag. It's like, I think they do care about the fans. Just some of the execution has been not the best. So it's one of those weird shows. And of course now I'm a shill because I'm like talking about things that are actually kind of good that they did. You're not allowed to do that anymore. Okay, so she goes, you let them get away, and then the X-Wing pilot, which looks like a normal X-Wing pilot, I don't know. He's got a Republic helmet and everything, says, we couldn't risk, because there was kids inside. I did notice while they were flying away, they shot like a electron proton thing that just kind of knocked out their engine but didn't blow anything up or anything like that. So they were trying to protect the kids. So that does make sense. It doesn't make sense that they didn't see the ship before they were in it at all. That's super stupid. But that part, see, that's what I mean. They do one thing that's super dumb, and then they do another thing that's makes sense and is like, oh, cool. Those are legit like Republic X-Wing guys doing their jobs properly. So it's like, it's weird. Anyway, so that's the episode. They're going back home now. Like I said, I don't have to go over anything again. I've already said everything I need to say. It's one of those ones that's weird. It's a weird show because, again, you feel good about certain things and crappy about other things. The two mom thing was really dumb. I just don't understand why you would do that. Well, I guess we do understand why they would do that, but it's just so pointless. Like, they don't really have a role in the show really much at all. Neil's mom didn't say anything. So I don't know. And they were the emotional freakouts. And whatever. It was super lame. You take that into account, the two escapes, the pirates being dumb, and the hyperspace willy-nilliness. The first half of the show, that brings it down to like a 1 or a 2. And then some of the stuff later in the show that was a little bit better. So overall, it's like maybe like a 4. So it's not good. It's still better than some of the other crap. Like, it's better than The Acolyte. I don't care what anybody says. It's way better than that. But it's not very good. And, again, I can tell they're kind of trying, but they're doing other things that are really stupid. So, and I'm not stupid enough to not care. So, yeah, not the greatest episode. Show so far is meh in total. So that's my take. Let me know in the comment section what you think. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, always helps the channel. Feel free to check out anything else on my channel. Have yourselves a really good day.